I was halfway through my delivery route when I saw it, her car. It was parked outside the Holiday Inn, tucked in the corner of the lot like she was hiding. My wife's silver Toyota, the one I'd bought her for our 20th anniversary. My stomach dropped so fast I nearly missed the stop sign. What the hell is she doing here? I muttered, pulling my truck to the side. She was supposed to be at work. She'd told me she had a late client meeting, and I hadn't questioned it. After all, that's what a trusting husband does, right? But there it was. Her car. At a hotel. At 2 in the afternoon. I sat there gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Maybe she was meeting a client? Maybe it was work-related? But deep down, I already knew. Men like me, we know when something's wrong. We just try not to admit it. I parked 2 blocks away and walked back, my heart pounding so hard I thought everyone in the lot could hear it. No sign of her yet. Just silence, broken by the hum of the highway. So I waited. And an hour later, the door opened. She came out laughing, her hand on the arm of a man I'd never seen before. He was taller than me, wearing a tailored suit and sunglasses, the kind of guy who thought the world owed him respect. My wife leaned against him like a teenager in love, her smile wider than I'd seen in years. They kissed, right there in the open, like our marriage didn't even exist. I couldn't breathe. 22 years together, and she was kissing another man in a cheap hotel parking lot. He whispered something in her ear, and she laughed again. Then they started toward his car, a black BMW with tinted windows. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to let them just drive off. I pulled my truck around, flooring it, and swung right in front of his car before he could back out. Tires screeched. My wife froze. The man cursed, slamming his palm against the steering wheel. "Patrick," she gasped, her face turning pale as she recognized me. I stepped out of my truck slowly, deliberately, my boots crunching on the pavement. I didn't shout. I didn't flail. I just stared at them, silent, and that silence was worse than any explosion of anger could have been. The man got out of his car, trying to act tough. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he barked. I walked straight up to him, grabbed his collar, and yanked him down onto the asphalt so hard he lost his sunglasses. Gasps echoed from the people nearby. Guests unloading luggage, a family heading inside, a couple smoking by the door. Everyone saw. And then, in front of all of them, I growled, "Tell me who you are, and tell me why you're with my wife." The crowd was watching. My wife was trembling. The man was trapped beneath my grip. And that was only the beginning. The man's smug look evaporated the moment I dragged him onto the pavement. He sputtered, trying to wriggle out of my grip, but I held him down with one hand on his collar and the other pressing against his chest. "Patrick, stop!" my wife cried, rushing toward me. "You're making a scene." "A scene?" I barked, my voice booming through the parking lot. "You sneak around behind my back, crawl into some hotel with this clown, and I'm the one making a scene?" People had stopped what they were doing to watch. A couple wheeled their luggage back to their car, but most stayed, eyes wide, phones out. Someone was already recording. And honestly, I wanted them to. Let the whole world see. The man squirmed again. "Get your hands off me," he spat. "This is assault." I leaned closer, my voice low but sharp as a blade. "You're damn lucky it isn't worse. Now tell me who the hell you are." He glared up at me, jaw tight. "My name's Derek." "Derek who?" I pressed harder on his chest. "Derek Whitman," he muttered. "Now let me go." The name hit me like a hammer. Derek Whitman, the regional manager at my wife's office. I'd heard her mention him before in passing, just a work colleague, nothing serious. A man she claimed she barely knew. And here he was, dust on his expensive suit, with her lipstick still smudged across his cheek. "You've been screwing your boss," I said, my eyes cutting to my wife. "How long?" She froze, color draining from her face. Her lips trembled, but no words came out. "How long?" I repeated, each word heavy enough to crush her excuses. "Patrick, please," she whispered finally, glancing around at the growing audience. "Not here. Can we talk about this somewhere private?" I laughed bitterly, a sound that startled even me. "Private? You lost the right to privacy when you walked into a hotel with another man." The crowd murmured. Derek shoved against me again, finally managing to sit up as I let him go just enough to make him think he'd escaped. He dusted himself off, glaring at me with red-faced fury. "You're pathetic," he snapped. "Clinging to a marriage that's clearly over. She doesn't love you anymore. Get it through your thick head." I stood tall, towering over him. Say one more word, I warned. My voice was calm, but my fists were trembling. He smirked. Or what? You'll embarrass yourself even more? That was when I leaned in close, so only he could hear. No, I'll destroy you where it hurts the most. Your career, your reputation, everything you've built. Because unlike you, Derek, I actually know how to fight smart. For the first time, he flinched. Just slightly. But I saw it. My wife grabbed my arm. Patrick, please, let's just go home and talk. You're scaring me. I looked at her, at the woman I'd built a life with for 22 years. The woman who once promised me forever, now standing there shaking, not because of what she'd done, but because she'd been caught. And in that moment, I realized something cold and certain. She wasn't sorry. Not even close. I stepped back, my eyes sweeping over the crowd. Phones were still up. Dozens of witnesses. Proof. And suddenly, an idea hit me. Something that would make both of them regret ever stepping into that hotel. I didn't yell. I didn't swing. I just smiled. Because I knew exactly what I was going to do next. I let Derek stand, brushing dirt from his overpriced suit, but I didn't move out of the way. My truck was still blocking his BMW, and every eye in that parking lot was locked on us. He looked around nervously now, the cocky smirk slipping as he realized half the people had their phones out. This isn't over, he muttered. Oh, it's just beginning, I shot back. My wife tugged on my arm, desperation rising in her voice. Patrick, stop it. You're humiliating us. Us. I turned on her, my voice sharp enough to cut steel. You humiliated me the second you walked into that hotel. You humiliated our kids. You humiliated the 22 years we built together. Don't you dare pretend we're in this together. Her eyes welled with tears, but they weren't the tears of guilt. They were the tears of someone caught red-handed, scrambling to regain control. She tried to whisper, tried to quiet me down. Please, not in front of everyone. But I wanted the whole world to hear. I raised my voice. This woman is my wife. And she's been sneaking around with him, her boss. Meeting in hotels while I've been out breaking my back to keep our family running. Gasps rippled through the onlookers. A mother covered her child's ears. A man whistled low, muttering, Damn, that's cold. Derek snapped. You're making yourself look like a fool. No, I said, locking eyes with him. I'm showing people the truth. And here's the best part, Derek. All of this? These witnesses, those phones recording, the evidence sitting right here in front of everyone. This is just the first nail in your coffin. He stiffened, realizing too late that he wasn't in control anymore. I turned back to my wife, her face pale, trembling. You thought you could sneak around, and I'd never find out. But you forgot something about me. I don't break. I build. And I know exactly how to tear down something rotten before it spreads. Her lips parted like she wanted to beg, but no words came. I stepped closer to her, lowering my voice just enough so only she and Derek could hear. You're both finished. And the best part? You won't even see it coming. For a moment, silence stretched. Then I did something none of them expected. I calmly walked back to my truck, started the engine, and pulled away, leaving Derek standing like a fool in front of his BMW and my wife frozen on the curb. I didn't shout. I didn't hit him. I didn't even look back. And that scared them more than anything else I could have done. Because they saw it too. The look in my eyes wasn't rage anymore. It was calculation. Cold, deliberate. On the drive home, my phone buzzed nonstop. Calls from my wife. Texts filled with half-baked excuses, desperate pleas to talk. I ignored them all. Instead, I called someone else, a man I knew from a job site, a guy who'd once told me, if you ever need dirt on someone, I've got contacts. At the time, I thought he was just bragging. But right now, I needed exactly that. When he answered, I said 6 words I never imagined I'd say. I need everything on Derek Whitman. There was a pause, then a low chuckle. This sounds interesting. Consider it done. I hung up, staring at the road ahead. They thought today was bad. But what they didn't know was that it was nothing compared to what I had planned. By the time I pulled into our driveway, her car was already there. She must have driven faster than she ever had in her life, desperate to beat me home. I killed the engine and just sat for a moment, staring at the house we'd built together. Every brick, every nail, I'd sweated for it. And now it felt tainted. When I walked in, she was waiting by the door, her eyes red from crying, though I wasn't sure if they were real tears or just another performance. Patrick, she said softly, reaching for me. Please, can we talk? I stepped past her without a word, hung my jacket on the hook, and sat at the kitchen table. She hovered there like a stranger, fidgeting with her hands. "You don't understand," she whispered. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I never meant for you to find out that way." I looked up at her slowly, meeting her eyes. "So you did mean for me to find out? Just on your terms, after you'd already secured your safety net?" She winced. "No. It got complicated." "Complicated?" I repeated, the word bitter on my tongue. "No. What's complicated is raising 2 kids, paying off a mortgage, keeping food on the table. That's complicated. What you did was simple. You found a man you thought was better than me, and you threw away 22 years. Her face crumpled. "Patrick, please, I made a mistake. He doesn't mean anything. You're my husband. You're the one I love." I leaned back in my chair and studied her. Funny way of showing it. For the first time since the hotel parking lot, she broke down. Real tears this time. She dropped to her knees in front of me, clutching at my hands. "Please don't leave me. Don't take the kids from me. I swear, I'll end it. I'll block his number. Just give me a chance to fix this." I pulled my hands away. Her desperation should have felt like victory, but all I felt was emptiness. The woman kneeling in front of me wasn't the same woman I'd married. That woman had died the moment she chose another man's arms. "You think this is about second chances?" I asked coldly. "No, this is about consequences. And believe me, they're coming." She froze, staring up at me, fear flickering in her eyes. Not fear of losing me, fear of what I might do. Good. She should be afraid. That night, she tried everything. Cooked my favorite dinner, poured me a glass of whiskey, even slipped into bed wearing the silk nightgown I'd bought her years ago. I didn't touch her, didn't even look at her. I lay there in silence, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathing quicken with panic. What she didn't know was that while she begged silently for forgiveness, I was planning. My buddy called me the next morning. "Got some info on your guy, Derek. You might want to sit down." I took the call in the garage, away from her ears. "Let's hear it," I said. "Well, turns out your wife's Romeo isn't as squeaky clean as he pretends. He's up for a big promotion at corporate, but he's got skeletons, debt, lawsuits, and a reputation for mixing business with pleasure. You're not the first wife he's gone after." My grip tightened on the phone. "Oh, and one more thing," he added. "His bosses? They don't tolerate scandals. If someone were to say, provide evidence of his extracurricular activities, he'd be finished." I felt a slow smile spread across my face. Finally, the cracks in their perfect little fantasy were showing. And I was going to tear the whole thing down, brick by brick. The next morning, I was up before dawn. Not because I couldn't sleep. I hadn't slept in days, but because I had work to do. My wife stirred as I slipped out of bed, her hand reaching for me in the dark. I pulled away. By the time she wandered into the kitchen in her robe, I was already at the table with my laptop open, files spread across the surface. Bank statements, credit card charges, screenshots from her phone backups. All the little breadcrumbs of betrayal she thought I'd never notice. She stopped in the doorway. "Patrick, what are you doing?" "Building," I said without looking up. "Building what?" Her voice was shaky. "Your downfall," I replied flatly. "And his." Her robe slipped off one shoulder as she stepped closer, panic flooding her face. "You can't mean that." "Patrick, please, we can fix this." I finally looked up, cutting her off with a glare sharp enough to nail her to the floor. "You think I want to fix it? After watching you crawl out of a hotel with him? After dragging his smug face off the pavement while you stood there and said nothing? No, this isn't about fixing anything. This is about making damn sure you both pay." She gasped, clutching the counter for support. For the first time, she realized the truth. I wasn't bluffing. That day, I started gathering. My buddy's contacts had already given me a lead on Derek's financial skeletons. I pulled his public records, tracked down old lawsuits, even found a foreclosure that had been quietly buried years back. The man who strutted around in tailored suits and shiny cars was drowning in debt. Then came the work evidence. My wife had never been careful, not with her phone, not with her laptop. I pulled emails, photos, receipts from her business dinners that looked a lot more like dates. A paper trail leading straight from the company's account to their hotel rendezvous. She hovered behind me most of the day, wringing her hands. "Patrick, if you do this, you'll ruin my career too. Do you want that? Do you want the kids to lose everything we've built?" I didn't even turn around. You already ruined everything we built. The kids will be fine, because I'll make damn sure of it. You? That's another story. Her voice broke. I swear I'll cut him off. I'll prove it to you. Just give me one more chance. I closed the laptop and finally faced her. You don't get it. You had your chance. Every night you chose him over me. You made your decision. Now I'm making mine. She backed away, eyes wide. What are you going to do? I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. First, I'm going to take his career from him. Then, when he's choking on the ashes, I'll decide what's left for you. Her knees buckled, and she sank into a chair. For the first time since this started, she didn't argue, didn't plead. She just sat there in silence, knowing the man she used to control was gone. That night, I sent out my first package. A neat little file full of receipts, photos, and time-stamped evidence, all addressed to Derek's corporate headquarters. Anonymous, of course. As I sealed the envelope, I whispered to myself, this is just the beginning. 3 days later, the first crack appeared. I was driving my route when my phone buzzed with a text from my buddy. Check the news. I pulled over and opened the link. There it was, a short business article buried under local headlines. Regional Manager Derek Whitman under internal review following misconduct allegations. The smile that spread across my face was the first genuine one I'd had in weeks. By the time I came home, she was pacing the living room, her phone clutched in a white-knuckled grip. She spun on me the second I walked in. Did you do this? Her voice cracked with panic. Patrick, tell me you didn't. I set my lunchbox down calmly, unbuttoned my jacket, and sat in the recliner like it was any other day. Do what? She shoved her phone in my face, the headline glaring back at me. His entire career is on the line. People at the office are whispering. They're asking me questions. Patrick, this could destroy everything. I took a slow sip of water before answering. Good. Her jaw dropped. Good? Do you have any idea what this means? If Derek goes down, so do I. I met her panicked stare with cold steadiness. Exactly. She staggered back like I'd hit her. You want me to lose everything too? No, I said evenly. I want you to understand what betrayal costs. You thought you could sneak around and live a double life without consequences. Well, here they are. You wanted him? Congratulations. You're going down with him. Her hands trembled as she sank into the sofa, tears brimming in her eyes. But again, they weren't tears of guilt. They were tears of self-preservation. She wasn't worried about me, or our kids, or even the marriage she'd torched. She was worried about her. That night, while she hid in the bedroom whispering frantic calls to Derek, I sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through the company's press releases. Derek was supposed to speak at a regional summit next month. His name was gone from the program, replaced by an interim manager. Perfect. The next morning, the panic reached a fever pitch. She cornered me before I could leave for work. Patrick, please, if you did this, just stop. Think about the kids. Think about what this will do to our family. I looked her dead in the eye. You should have thought about that before you walked into that hotel. Her lip quivered. I never meant for it to go this far. I leaned down, whispering so close she could feel the heat of my words. Neither did I. But it's too late now. You handed me the hammer, and I'm going to swing until there's nothing left standing. I left her standing there, pale and trembling, while I climbed into my truck. On the drive, my buddy called again. Hey, you'll like this. Corporate's digging deeper. Apparently, they found discrepancies in his expense reports, hotel bills, dinners, all tied to a client who doesn't exist. Sound familiar? I chuckled, the sound dark and satisfying. Yeah, real familiar. Derek wasn't just under review anymore. He was under investigation. And that was when I knew the destruction had only just begun. By the end of the week, Derek's name was everywhere, and not in the way he liked. An anonymous leak, my carefully prepared package, had found its way into the right inboxes. The story spread like wildfire through the company. Their Golden Boy regional manager wasn't just sleeping with an employee. He was expensing his little love nest to the corporate card. Hotel rooms, bottles of wine, even dinners for two disguised as client meetings. It was all there, black and white. Friday morning, my wife came home from the office early. She didn't slam the door like usual, didn't storm and ready for a fight. No, she crept in quietly, like a thief returning to a crime scene. When I looked up from my coffee, she was standing in the doorway, pale as a ghost. They suspended him, she whispered. They marched Derek out in front of everyone. Security escorted him past the whole office. I leaned back in my chair, calm as could be. Sounds humiliating. She swallowed hard, voice trembling. Do you understand what this means? Everyone's looking at me, Patrick. They're connecting the dots. They know. I let the silence hang, enjoying her squirm. Finally, she broke. Please. If you're behind this, I'm begging you, stop. You've made your point. You've ruined him. Don't ruin me too. I studied her for a long moment. This was the same woman who had walked out of a hotel with another man's arm wrapped around her waist, laughing like a teenager sneaking home after curfew. The same woman who had thought I'd roll over, too weak to fight back. Now she was begging. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like justice. Funny thing about hammers, I said finally, my voice low. Once they swing, you can't stop them midair. Her eyes filled with panic. She knew then that the blow was still coming. That afternoon, I made sure of it. A contact of mine at the company slipped me a copy of the internal memo. Derek wasn't just suspended. His termination was pending an official board vote. And worse for him, the HR department had opened a full ethics investigation, which meant they'd be combing through every file, every email, every expense. My wife's name appeared on more than a few. That evening, she tried again. We can leave this behind, Patrick. Start fresh. I'll quit the job, cut ties with him, whatever it takes. Just don't let this destroy me too. I looked at her over the rim of my glass. You still don't get it. This isn't me destroying you. You did that yourself. I'm just making sure you can't bury the rubble and pretend it never happened. She broke then, sobbing into her hands. Not for our marriage, not for our kids, but for herself. The next morning, I was sipping coffee on the porch when my buddy called. His voice was practically grinning through the phone. You'll love this, he said. Someone recorded Derek's walk of shame. Him getting escorted out of the building. Red face, yelling at security, his stuff in a cardboard box. It's all over social media. I laughed, deep and full. Send me the link. And when I watched it, Derek stumbling through the glass doors, coworkers filming, some even clapping sarcastically, I knew the timing was perfect. Because while Derek's career had just gone up in flames, my wife hadn't yet realized. Her turn was next. 2 weeks later, the hammer fell. Derek was officially terminated. No severance, no references, no cushy landing. His name had become poison in the industry. I heard through the grapevine that his wife had kicked him out, his BMW was repossessed, and his so-called friends had vanished overnight. The man who once strutted like a king was now a ghost. But I wasn't done. Because while Derek was finished, my wife still thought she could crawl back into my good graces. She kept cooking dinners, slipping notes into my lunchbox, even pretending like we were rebuilding. But I knew better. Every touch, every fake smile, it was just survival. And I wasn't going to give her that. The papers were already filed. I'd hired the best divorce attorney in town, a woman with a reputation for gutting cheaters in court. She told me the evidence I had, the financial records, the hotel receipts, the photos, even the public spectacle at the Holiday Inn, was ironclad. Combined with her neglect of the kids while she was sneaking around, I had the upper hand in every way. When I handed my wife the papers at the kitchen table, she stared at them like they were a death sentence. No, she whispered. Patrick, please. Don't do this. We can fix it. I'll quit my job, I cut her off with a calm shake of my head. You already fixed it, remember? In that hotel room. This is me cleaning up the mess. Her tears came fast, streaming down her face. You'll ruin me. No, I said coldly. You ruined yourself. I'm just making sure the judge sees the truth. Court day came quick. She showed up in her best suit, makeup flawless, trying to project the image of a professional, respectable wife. But the evidence told a different story. My lawyer laid it all out. The expenses, the affair, the neglect of our kids, the pattern of deception. She tried to speak, tried to spin it, but the judge wasn't buying it. Not with the stack of proof sitting on his desk. By the time it was over, the ruling was clear. I kept the house, full custody of the kids, and the majority of our assets. She walked away with a fraction of what she thought she'd take, and a reputation in shambles. When the gavel hit, she buried her face in her hands. Derek wasn't in the room to console her. He had his own battles to fight. She was alone. Afterward, I walked out into the sunlight with my lawyer, my kids waiting at my mother's house. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. Later that night, I sat on the porch, watching the sun dip low when my phone buzzed. It was a text from her. "I'm sorry. Please, can we talk?" I stared at it for a long moment, then deleted it without a reply. Because there was nothing left to say. She had gambled everything. Our marriage, our family, our life, for a man who couldn't even keep his own. And she lost. I didn't yell. I didn't fight. I just smiled, knowing justice had been served. And as I sipped my coffee in the quiet of my own home, one thought settled over me with cold certainty. She thought I'd roll over. She thought I was weak. But in the end, I proved her wrong. I walked away with everything. And she was left with nothing.